Oh, heck yeah, man.
There it is, man.
What's going on?
Dude, nothing, man. How you doing, brother?
Man, doing good.
Yes, what am I here?
Sitting around, not doing a daggum thing.
Yeah, me neither.
It's,
Me neither.
it's my favorite time of year with my Smirnoff red, white, and blue hooch drink.
That's right, man.
The best way I can describe this is like uh, it is a rocket pop that you
Yeah.
that you can drink
It's,
with malt beverage in it. So
there ain't no rocket pop with a little gasoline in there.
whew,
Give
that's
it
what I'm
a
talking
go,
about.
man.
Rocket pop, bottle pop, if you like the generic or what. Or I've seen a few different versions of them, but I still call them the rocket pops. I think that's the brand name
Yeah.
technically.
Yeah, well, as soon as you say it, I get the mental image. I'm,
Mm,
I'm with you, man. I
yeah, man.
I don't have any. Well, at the moment, I don't have any hooch, not anything yet. But I will tell you this, as far as flavors and whatnot.
Hmm.
My mom baked a cake this weekend. Well, not weekend, but earlier in the week. And normally it's this really awesome like citrus cake that my mom makes, and it's lemon cake and for Pete's sake. It's the cans of like the fruit nectar that you can get, and it's usually in like the Mexican food aisle.
Yeah, yeah.
The Jumex stuff. You get
Hmm.
I want to say it's tangerine nectar. I think that's which one it is. And it's great. It's
That's good.
fantastic. But this time, instead of lemon cake, we tried the orange cake. And I've never tried it before. I'm like, cool, orange cake. Let's see what's up, man. And I will tell you this, orange cake, especially if you mix it with the Jumex, I guess it's probably Umex actually, considering it's a Mexican company. I don't know. I really don't. I don't pronounce Spanish very well. But you mix those two together, put a little citrus or a little icing on the top of it, man. And I'm kidding you not. If you can imagine what if you could bake a cake out of Fruit Loops,
Sweet.
that's what it tastes like. It's really good. I'm like, oh man, this is nice. And then I had a piece of it today, and I'm like, that's it. That's why I'm
Yeah,
liking this because it has that little Fruit Loop thing. I'm like, right on. So if you like Fruit Loop cake, get you
yeah.
some orange cake mix, and just go to the Mexican food aisle. Their little purple cans. Get the tangerine and mix it up. It was great, man.
Yeah. Back in the day, uh, Sprite cakes
Oh
were really
yeah,
popular,
that was a big
and
deal. Yeah,
yeah, man, that you it doesn't sound like a big deal. So, but man, something about just putting a little bit of a cola into a
yeah.
cake mix can make a big difference.
The strangest things that I've ever heard as far as like, well, what difference does that make? And then it's night and day. Or like you talk about, one for me is doing like brownies or cakes with mayonnaise
Mhm.
instead of eggs. It is
Yeah.
incredible as far as moistness.
Oh
I
man.
couldn't I couldn't believe it. It was shocking to me. And the other thing,
Yeah.
like you're talking about with Sprite,
Mhm.
I used to work with this guy named Willie, and Willie was famous warehouse wide and beyond for his collard greens.
Cool.
Amazing. And he told me one day what his secret ingredient, and he tells everybody, it's like it's his secret recipe that he tells everyone.
Round
But
one.
dude, now Willie would put his collards in the bathtub and put
Mhm.
Coke on them, Coca
Yeah.
Cola. Coca Cola and turnip greens. I'm like, right on, okay, man. And then he brought me some, and I almost died when I ate them because they
Sweet.
were unbelievable.
Sounds
It's
awesome.
really the flavor thing. It's not that big of a deal. You cook all that
Mhm.
off, man. But the texture, I couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But whenever I ate them, I'm like, this is why everybody's freaking out about these. I understand
Yeah.
totally now because sometimes you hear it's a great and wonderful and rare thing when you hear about how awesome something is repeatedly, and then you either see it or read it or eat it or whatever it happens to be, and then it's even better than you could have possibly imagined. That's always a fun thing, man. And that was those
Yeah.
collards, man.
Man, the mayonnaise substitute, and I say a substitute because I got turned on to, and this was something, maybe it's just something that everybody knows that I got turned on to. I thought, how is this phenomenon not all over the internet? Where's everybody been? But I got turned on to it by the Tony Kornheiser podcast a few months ago. And I call it a phenomenon just because it's like it was a debate on the show about which is better, to make a grilled cheese sandwich using butter on the outside was the tradition. That's what I've always grown up with. And somebody had turned them onto instead of butter, you put a coating of mayonnaise on the bread, and uh, it's unreal the difference it makes to me. It's if you put me one of each right next to each other, I'm pretty sure I could taste the difference, but you can't see the difference. So they look almost identical. You could taste the buttery outside, but I think the mayonnaise was better. I think it's
That's
the way to do
awesome.
it,
That's awesome, man.
and I don't know why. And people putting mayonnaise in cakes. When I first heard about it as a kid, it sounded like, "Ew, that's gross," but it's essentially the same. It's not the same thing, but not that different.
It's really not, man. Yeah, when you see what
Yeah,
mayonnaise is made out of, you're like, yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Oil,
yeah,
egg, little
yeah,
lemon. Yeah, you good to
yeah.
go.
Just it's so you can't do that. Like, yeah, you'll be just fine, kid.
Yeah,
Shut the hell
I couldn't
up.
believe it. The first time I ever had it, I was at my buddy Francis's house, and her mom had this chocolate cake that she made that everybody shit their pants over. And it was awesome. Francis's whole family was so cool to me. They're very, very nice people. And so I went over and had it, and I'm like, oh my God. And she's like, man, just use mayonnaise instead of eggs and oil. I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah, because that's the whole thing. It
It's
was
so
just
much
like
better. It's better.
it was the most moist, insane. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, good Lord. She said, yeah, it's the only difference. I'm like, God, that's awesome.
Uh, the holiday treat that I was ruined on that I cannot eat after I realized what goes into the Swedish meatball. Uh,
Yeah.
the meatballs that get served at the holidays and every wedding you go to. When I saw somebody putting grape jelly and this chili relish in a crock pot, I was like, what are y'all doing? Like,
Dude.
what are you doing? Like, that's gonna be the meatballs. And I was like, do what?
Man.
And something about seeing that, getting prepared. I was like, I can't eat those again and not taste it. I'm just like, I didn't have to have them in the first place, but I liked them a lot
Yeah.
when they were there. But now that I saw what goes into it, I was like, well, y'all ruined this for me. I
Yeah,
hope
I
you're
can dig it, man.
satisfied. Son of bitches.
I understand where you're
Turns
coming
out maybe I loved him more than I like to admit.
I had somebody tell me that, and this I was sent home with this. When you go to IKEA, you can buy vegetarian meatballs, IKEA brand vegetarian meatballs, and IKEA brand. I want to say it's lingonberry jam. I know it's lingonberries. I'm pretty sure it's jam, and it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, cook these, eat them together. I'm like, let
You're
me get this
crazy.
straight. You want me to eat meatballs and jelly? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. So I did. And I loved the shit out of it. So it's like,
I
and it sucks. It doesn't suck. I'm actually very fortunate that I don't live close enough to an IKEA to make it home with frozen food.
yeah
That I have thought about making the pilgrimage with a cooler because
yeah.
I loved it. I'm like, oh my
Okay.
God, I'm gonna get in trouble with this. So I didn't need to know about that, but I'm in trouble.
I don't believe you. I'm not eating that shit.
I don't believe you. It's like I try and check stuff out because we've talked about it before, man. I'm as far as like eating, I really am. It's stupid of me to not eat better than I do because there's just so few things that I don't like, including things that are really good and really healthy for you. So I should eat a hell of a lot better than I do. It's the whole thing with like veggie dogs and stuff like that. I got no problem with meat. I just like to try different stuff because why not? Because if you save yourself the serving of meat, why not? Well, the calories are the same. So I get that with the Impossible Whopper all the time. Why are you getting that Impossible Whopper? Because it tastes exactly the same. Yeah, but it's the same with the calories, and it is. But have you seen the fat grams?
Yeah,
Not the same at all. And it's like,
yeah,
yeah, you're right. The calories, you still got to go and burn them off, no doubt.
yeah.
But it's different.
Yeah,
Calories from
that's
calories from fat are a real thing, and it's like
yeah.
no, 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 no. But the Impossibles are awesome. They taste exactly the same to me, so I'm good with it.
We were. It was burned into our heads as kids of my generation that calories are the enemy. You don't stay below this number of calories out, you're not going to burn anything. That's true and not true. You know.
Yeah, it really depends on where you're getting them from. And see, I'm like
Yeah.
that with fat grams too. People that actually will go beyond and start giving you fat grams. When you start breaking those down, it's different. Oh my God, avocados are so high in fat. Yeah, the good ones. Oh
Yeah.
man, you're eating mixed nuts. Oh my God, and it's like you're right. The fat content is massive, but look at what kind it is.
Essentials. Essential
Dude,
fat.
that's the thing, man. Mono
Yeah.
unsaturated fat.
Mhm.
Polysaturated is the one you want to stay away from.
Yeah.
Saturated fat will kill you, but mono
Yeah.
unsaturated. Mono as in
Mhm.
one, so it's one thing to break down. Unsaturated as in we didn't create it in a test tube.
Yeah.
If you eat a Brazil nut, they're absolutely shocking how much fat's in them, but it's the good stuff. You're right.
Mhm.
It's like fish oil, basically. Again, you
Yeah.
still want to, go and burn it off,
Yeah.
but the bad part you'll burn off. The stuff that's left is great for you.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
man.
that's just that was hammered in everybody's head, for so long. It's like, oh, caloric intake.
Food
Yes.
pyramid.
Oh my
5
gosh.
groups. Drink your milk.
you, you freaking saps. We got these kids buying it.
Yeah, dude, for real, man. They're getting all like rubbing their hands together.
Oh yeah. Baby.
These kids are stupid.
Don't tell them what's in the meatballs.
For real, man.
Dumb sexy shit. Man.
It was something in. You go first, and I promise I'll
Nah,
take
man. I
this. I'm
I
sorry.
just that's all good. I don't even know what I was even talking about.
I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but there was
No.
something in the way that you said that reminded me. We were talking, and I won't like stay on this too much because you already had to hear it. But if you watch the show, y'all know that we are both massive Marty and Sarah fans. And I was telling Jared before we got started that, every time they do the suggestion on the show to go back and hit the archive, it took me a long time to finally take their advice on that. But I've done that. And so now I'm going back and listening to the early shows. And it's so great. I was telling Jared, the most impressive thing to me is they did not grow into being good at podcasting. That first episode is excellent. I mean, they're
Yeah.
they're good from like jump, and I'm like, man, that's really impressive. But there was something in the sex shit with the way you said that. We were talking earlier about characters they used to do,
Mhm.
and in this case, it's a character I miss. It's sexual Mauro Ranallo. Every
Oh
time they
yeah.
do sexual Mauro Ranallo, I usually listen to it when I'm out walking. And man, I'll be
Yeah.
on the sideline, the sidewalk, just cracking up. I'm like, man, people got to think I'm nuts. It's
Oh
just
man.
that character makes me laugh every time, man. I love it, dude.
Yeah. Sexual Morrow, and I think they did like a sexual Otunga
Oh
and
man,
during commentary at one time. But yeah, man, the sexual Morrow and now it's nice and rapungy.
dude,
Those
that's my
so
thing.
good.
It's so stupid, but the thing that cracks me up about sexual Mauro Ranallo, it's exactly like you just said. It's got nothing to do with the sexual part. It's just how many times he can play New Japan Pro Wrestling. I mean, every single time,
Yeah.
man. He will work that into the conversation, and it makes me laugh every time, man. I was doing
Rapungy
commentary
Rice.
for New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it too much, man.
man. That's a good ass show.
It is amazing, and it's like we said. It's been. I think I'm on like episode 11 now, and it's like I was super impressed because it's like, and I guess it makes sense because with both of them doing stand up, I mean, performing is not a problem. And like we said, it's one of the things about that show that's so good is it's literally just two people having an awesome conversation, and it's like it makes sense, but it's still nice to hear it. Like, damn, y'all have always been this good at this. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man, that's good stuff.
I'm digging it. It's something I'm really enjoying. We were just talking. They were discussing like on the last episode I listened to, you've got NXT Takeover 2 in Chicago or Brooklyn 2 coming up, and so it gives you the timeline of where they are. And the point I want to make is it's pre AEW. I can't wait till they get to the development of AEW and what all that means, and getting excited about it, and especially of course Dean Ambrose becoming John Moxley, because
Mm.
from the current shows that's a big deal, but Sarah Shockey has said forever that Dean Ambrose is what got her into wrestling. And yeah, you go back to the early shows, and yeah, from jump, it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, man. Good stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think that'll be real cool.
Yeah, man. It's one of my landmark. And it's a show. It's an episode that I need to go back and listen to because uh, I don't think it's one of those jokes that got reused too many times. Maybe I just am misremembering, but the episode where Marty is doing his Cesaro voice and he's telling the story of Handsome Boy Championship Wrestling. It's hilarious.
It's literally episode 10. And the only reason
Oh
I
yeah.
know is because I just listened to it yesterday. And as soon as they busted out Handsome Boy Championship Wrestling, I was like, I got to tell the man I finally heard it. I have finally caught up and I've heard about Handsome Boy Championship Wrestling. It's 10 or 9, but it's called
Mhm.
Getting to Know Cesaro. And it's
Mhm.
so awesome because, like, 2 episodes before, Marty's trying to do a Cesaro and he's bummed at himself and he can't get it to work. And literally, that's the story: is he's sitting around the house listening to Cesaro and just practicing all week. And then it's the version you hear now that's so good, that's so
Yeah.
fantastic. So I'm assuming it's because he was so proud of his impression, he wanted to do most of the show as it. And so that's where Handsome Boy Championship Wrestling came from. And as soon as they said it, I was dying because I remember you telling me about it. I'm like, yes, it was so good,
Yeah.
man.
It's man. That's I just remember that story as being and talk about. Uh, I want to say there was a there's this festival up in Kennesaw each Halloween. The and they have it's a hot air balloon festival that they did the Halloween. They're the owls, and I remember it's a good thing that you can kind of remember an episode of a podcast or what you were doing when I was listening to this or that or the other thing. And I remember going around. I want to say it was around that time of year when I was at that and talk about people looking at me like I was freaking. They look at you like because you're freaking crazy because you're at a hot air balloon festival by yourself. And I'm just like, hey, I'm here for the Looney Loons and the apples. That I can go around and eat. So, uh, and to go around listening to that and people, I'm cackling at
Dude,
this crazy story, and then people are kind of like, I think he's just nervous and special. So kids get away. And I'm like, yeah, listen to Mom Paul. You away
it's
from me, boy.
it's one of those societal deals. We've talked about them before. It's one of those deals with society that I have made internally in my own head. One of them being, we've talked about this one specifically before. Spoilers don't bother me because I don't watch anything on the schedule anymore, and I understand that that's on me. So anything people put out about Loki, anything people put out back in the day about WandaVision, hey, look, man, that's on me. That's my choice. No problem whatsoever. My other internal deal I've made with everybody is like, I absolutely love doing shit by myself. If
Yeah,
the trade for that is you looking at me weird, have fun. No problem.
yeah.
Because I'm still going to do the shit I want to do. It's like, because it's so where people talk endlessly. It's so sad to go to a restaurant by yourself. And I'm like, boy, you talk about phenomena that I never would have experienced or thought anything about. It's like, fuck that, dude. I
Yeah.
like to eat. I don't give a fuck doing it alone. It's fine.
That's a concept that didn't even cross my mind
I'm the,
until
bro,
I
I'm
started
with you.
working with more women who said I can't go in a and this I'm this a restaurant they're talking about like McDonald's or wherever Arby's or whatever that I have to go to the drive-through and eat it in the car. I'm like, why? Said, I couldn't go in there and eat by myself. Said I can't grasp why you wouldn't be able to do that. I just don't understand whatsoever.
I'm all about doing whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it, and
Mhm.
it works out well. It works out really really well,
Oh,
and we're cool. Like I said, it's a societal. We've made a deal. It's all good,
yeah.
man.
And a game changer move for me is sitting down at the bar and ordering from the bar. I love doing that now. I will just sit because I mean I guess the concept of I understood it more when I'm like, okay, I don't want to go to an actual restaurant and sit there and be at a table that could be used for more people. I'm like, freaking go to the bar.
Sure.
Freaking idiot.
Yeah,
And I was like, oh,
one
yeah.
seat. Yeah, one seat per shot.
Changed my life. Changed my
Yeah,
life.
it's great. It's good stuff, man. Like, dude, I totally dig that.
Yeah, and I'd take advantage of that all the time.
Any chance I get.
Any restaurant in the world I want.
Man, I got a
You get names
recycled.
just like that.
I got a recycled out of context flare today, man. It was the one. Me, anytime I eat Mexican food, I'm gonna let you swallow that before I tell you. It's
I'm
like,
sorry.
no, you're good. It's that me anytime I eat Mexican food, it's flare. This is the danger zone. It's so good. Danger zone. Come
Yeah.
on, man.
Man, one of the things that, speaking of Rick, that's sat down in the last time that we talked, they wrapped up the WWE Hidden Treasure show,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and the uh, final episode of season 1 was the Ric Flair episode, which they put Rick and Charlotte in the opening to the show, and I'm like, when are they going to get to this? I know that's got to be coming. And if you needed any more evidence that this shows a straight up phony piece of trash, this was the episode. This is the one. I don't know if we talked about the Andre episode.
I finally saw it. I just watched it the other day, actually.
Oh man, what I would probably put that episode up there with the HBO documentary. Just how good it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the stuff that they chose to go after for Andre is kind of like, what's so important about a passport? Why? It's just something that you know somebody has that you can go get. But just when they got to Ellerby and dealt with the people that knew the guy, loved the guy, had a lot of his stuff, man, that's to me that was one of the best episodes they've ever done, and
It
I
was,
really enjoyed it.
yeah, it was great. That's the only one I've seen, but it's because it's about Andre the Giant, so of course I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
But I'm totally with you on the parallel with the HBO stuff because actually that just came on the other day and I watched it again too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really fun to be able to watch it with a fast forward button because they're like we talked about, man. The things in it that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
But man, when you get to Pontiac, Michigan, just fast fucking forward it because it's got nothing to do with Andre and it's just Vince and Hogan basically, seeing how much of their own asses they can kiss, and it's like, can we get through this shit already? And then you finally do, and it's good again. But the main problem I've got is, oh, you just don't like WWE. No, I don't like fucking Hulk Hogan or Vince McMahon because Tim White works for WWE too, and he's the best fucking part of the whole documentary. So there goes that theory.
Yeah.
But Tim is so great. I love that stuff. Everything he contributes to that movie is so cool.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I thought that there were definite parallels, only in that the North Carolina stuff was so cool, and I cannot remember. Sorry, his buddy that basically took care of the house. The lady whose husband spoke French and they became, but that lady is awesome in both of them. And as far as the A&E show that you're talking about, it was good to see her again. That was real cool. Like, oh yeah, I like this lady from the documentary. And then,
I remember you.
Yeah, it was cool. It was real cool, man.
Mm-hmm. That's similar to Jake the Snake wishing death on the Honky Tonk Man. They do their episode with Rick, and there's just so much stuff shoehorned in. Like, we got to fill out. I don't understand why it had to be 2 hours. The Andre episode, there wasn't much of that. Was kind of like, come on, guys. But with the Rick episode of him tracking down his robe, there's several segments that you're kind of like, why in the hell is Rick talking to Bad Bunny about, do you know where my robe is?
Yeah, seriously.
And out of the blue, and talk about shoehorn stuff in, like Jake wishing death on the Honky for no reason whatsoever in the A&E Lost Treasures episode, Rick just has to have a segment of the shit on Jim Hurst
Yeah.
for
Oh,
no
dude.
reason,
Man, it's like
whatsoever.
I think it's in his contract, and it's all like, man, we're gonna do an episode for A&E Television. Let me tell you something.
Indeed.
I'm gonna need at least 22 minutes. Absolutely eviscerate Jim Hurd. Let me tell you about that piece of shit. He was running a Pizza Hut. just in the conversations, he goes into the book. You know what I think I was doing? Dude, Jim Hurd. It's one of the funniest things with Flair and Cornette, and pretty much anybody else. But I think they're the two most prominent guys that were around that we hear from.
Mm-hmm.
But just either they will just empty both barrels on that jackass, and it's too funny, and I love it. They still hate that guy as much now as they did then. They will
Yeah.
always. It's like, go on, okay, all right, man.
One of the things going into the episode, because there's so that's been the running theme of the show is how are we going to find this one particular item from this particular guy, and we're never going to find it. There it is. Going into the episode, that's what I thought, because I thought I had heard this person tell the story of buying Ric Flair's robe at this auction. And I'm like, how are they going to do this episode and not at least acknowledge this if he doesn't indeed have it? I thought I heard Darius Rucker tell the story of buying the butterfly robe. Turns out it was a different robe. But they do. And that's one of the first people they go see. And the show's like, uh, you know, Darius Rucker, they go to his house and he tells the story of, yes, indeed, I was at a charity auction, and I think it was 99, he said. And I walked in and I saw this robe there, and I said, I don't care what it costs. I'm not leaving without it.
It will be
And,
mine.
but it seems like I remember hearing him say that. And I had the same thing. I thought, how are they going to flesh out this episode knowing where it is the whole time? And sure enough, he brings it out. It's not that robe, it's the white one from something else. And so I was like, okay, well, I just misremembered that and just assumed that he had it. So it was like, so you're telling me they stole Darius Rucker's robe and replaced it with another one?
I'm
But
thinking, help me out, because I didn't see the episode. The one they're hunting for is Royal Rumble 92, isn't it?
oh yeah, oh yes, oh
Okay,
yes,
I figured
oh yes,
so. The one
oh
that
yes.
Darius has, I want to say, is Starcade 85 or 86, one of the two, which, to be blunt,
Mm,
for Darius Rucker, yep, having the
yeah,
NWA one makes a hell of a lot more
yeah,
sense. It just
oh yeah,
does. But yeah, it's
oh
all
yeah,
because that was my whole thing too. Is like, oh, the butterfly robe. I'm like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? And then you see,
yeah.
the black one. Yeah, it's the Royal Rumble '92. Which, to be totally fair, with it being WWE themed, oh yeah, that would be the ultimate
Yeah,
Flair robe for WWE. So that
yeah.
totally makes sense. I ain't saying that's not the one they should be going after. It's just like that makes sense.
And that's part of it is it's just some of the people that they decide to have Rick go talk to, like, out of the blue. And I get it's not necessarily out of the blue. I'm sure he will take a free lunch from David Crockett any chance he gets, and that's where he meets up with David so he can get a free lunch out of him, and he gets to tell the plane crash story. But I'm like, honest to God, you're going to sit down with David Crockett and be like, "Oh, do you know what my robe is?" As if he would know. Why would he know?
Seriously, man. Like, come on, dude.
Uh, what? Why the hell would I have that? But uh, it all the the Tim White of the Ric Flair episode is Charles Robinson.
Oh, of course, that's fan. That makes total sense.
And what they put this guy through is just it's on the verge of hard to watch, because Charles does have one of Rick's robes that when they track down, and this is another thing of the show just being total straight up horseshit.
Malarkey.
Well, they track down the black 92 Rumble robe, Well, old buddy wants a robe in place of it. And he just happens to want the exact robe that Charles Robinson has.
Of course. Oh yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah. And so uh, the it gets referred to as the jungle robe. Basically, the robe that Rick is wearing when the big gold is unveiled
Okay.
from that promo. It's kind of greenish, and I like what Charles calls it. Charles refers to it as the lion robe because there's a lion on the side of it that it's not prominent on the front, but when he turns to the side, you see it. Well,
Nice.
that just happens to be the one that Charles has. Just happens to be the one that this guy must have to replace the robe that he bought.
That's
And
fascinating. Cause see,
you know,
I would have thought would have seemed to make sense to me that if you're going to barter the Ric Flair 92 Royal Rumble robe, the one you would trade it for is Big Blue that he wore when Shawn Michaels retired him. However,
yeah,
that one I'm assuming is probably still very, very safely tucked away in a safe in Stanford somewhere. So
yeah,
naturally, we won't be
we
trading for
got
that
that.
one.
Yeah,
Exactly. And it's like,
yeah,
there's no freaking way that's the one you want. I don't even collect Ric Flair robes, and I can already tell you. Royal Rumble 92 makes sense. WrestleMania, whatever it was, makes sense. Come on. Come
yes.
on.
Mania 24's the retirement match and all.
24. Thank you.
Yeah. Then so they show up at Charles's house and just totally and Charles had to know what they were coming for. He's not stupid, but he does a good acting job, and he's I, just, I can't do it, Rick. I can't do it. but but it was just and talk about a guy that has a weird collection of stuff. Charles has the robe there in his place, and it's I'm always into seeing what's on people's walls and shelves and stuff when they're going through these people's houses. Like that's weird. That's fucked up. He's got like
Oh,
this
shit.
weird collection of like horror film masks. I don't mean like Universal stuff. I mean like freaking Michael Myers and just some stuff. I'm kind of like that doesn't go with anything in this room, and it's not something I picture you would be into in the first place. But anyway, if they would have just gone in and explained to him from jump, this is why we need this. I hate to ask you to part with it, but they don't do that. They just kind of, hey, how you doing, whatever, and he shows him the robe, and the old buddy that does the show with Rick, like, and what would you want for it? He's kind of like, I'm not selling this. I want to be buried in this.
Are you out of your mind? Get out of here, man.
But all all's good, and there's more. Man, this is just the tip of the iceberg of this show is straight up fake because they eventually get the robe from Charles. Well, they they meet up with old buddy that has the robe that was lost in Johnson City, Tennessee, and of course the terms have changed yet again. Now he wants the robe and he wants a pair of boots and he wants money and all this that and other thing, and it's just total. If this had just been Rick sitting down to work this deal, he would have been gone from the get go. But uh, his nephew but gets to buy it for the WWE, which is another part of the story. Like Conrad gets to show up and buy me my robe back. But another thing that's to me almost uh, talk about bartering for robes is yeah they get the jungle room robe from
Mm-hmm.
Charles Robinson, and not only does he help get Ric Flair his robe back, they have another robe in Stanford that he gets. Another the thing that makes the jungle robe so rare to me and kind of like that's kind of odd is it's apparently the only robe Rick ever had that wasn't made by Olivia.
David Walker.
Uh, it's the only robe that she never made for him. That makes it unique. But they do just like old buddy in Johnson City. They replaced Charles's robe with I can't recall an event that it was worn at, but it's the Rick's robe that's like it's basically just gold all the way down. It's like gold colored with the gold pipe and all that. I always thought, to me, it's a ton better. I like it a lot more. But none of it's real. So it's one of those kind of things that's like, why am I getting this worked up about them giving Charles Robinson such a hard time when none of this is real? It's not real.
I think it'd be awesome if they actually did the director's cut where they show you the real thing, and as soon as the guy's all like, "Yeah, man, but you're gonna have to trade me a robe for it," and Rick just chops him across the chest one time, and that's the end of it. Where are you? Figure four until he gives up the robe.
So at the end of the day, through the course of events of this show and all the rolling around and dragging Charlotte into it and all this stuff, they do end up with
Shoehorning Charlotte into it.
bring her so she can tell her story. They end up with Royal Rumble '92 robe, the boots from that same Royal Rumble, and Starrcade '86 robe. So, and no, WWE doesn't own that one, but apparently they have it on loan from this guy that owned it. So, but it's still at the end this whole season of them tracking down all this stuff that wasn't barely an inconvenience to even find. It's still like nobody's going to get to see it. This whole episode, this whole season, it's like we want to track down all this stuff so the WWE fans can just come by and look at it anytime they want to, and no, they can't. So what's the point of all this?
Yeah, dude, seriously, it's
Unless you're. I'm sorry, but and until there's something built for people to go to, it's not there. Yeah, you have access whenever you get to have access again someday.
It's the same thing people talk about with the Hall of Fame. It's like, well, until there's a Hall of Fame, who gives a shit about being in the Hall of Fame? And I'm like, I understand that logic. I do. Like Orndorff was talking about that. It was all like somebody was telling the story about Mr. Wonderful, and it was all like, man, Orndorff showed up and he got the check and he left the plaque in his hotel room. And I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't he? If it don't mean nothing to you and there's nothing for it to mean, yeah, of course you do. It's like, I don't need this bullshit. The check cleared the bank, right? All right, see you. That makes total sense to me, man.
Yeah.
Once you have a Hall of Fame and people can show up, that's cool. But the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, Cauliflower Alley, and all that, that is there. That does exist. When they build a WWE Hall of Fame, who gives a fuck? It's one company. Nobody cares. It's like, think about the Basketball Hall of Fame. It is not the NBA Hall of Fame. It is the Basketball Hall of Fame, which is so much cooler because they're going to start letting women into the NBA Hall of Fame, and that's not right. It's like, it's basketball. There's already women there. It's like, it's so much cooler that way. It's so much cooler because it's always just been basketball, top to bottom. And something I watched as a little highlight video the other day, but somebody was explaining about, Tony Kukoc really probably should be in the Basketball Hall of Fame. And I couldn't believe he wasn't already. You got to be kidding me. Kukoc wasn't that big of a deal. Well, listen, we're Atlanta guys.
Yeah.
Tony Kukoc played here. And on behalf of Atlanta people, Milwaukee people, and definitely Chicago people, if Tony played in your town, by God, you know. But that's his NBA stuff. That's to say nothing of his hand of God genius on the international stage before he even got there. Of course he should be in the Hall of Fame. I can't believe. I was really surprised and kind of frustrated to hear that Kukoc isn't a Hall of Famer. Like, you got to be kidding me, man. That's nuts. So I'm hoping that'll get fixed very soon.
Rectified.
Yeah, because that's just point blank wrong, man.
Yeah, man. They'll get that. They'll get that situated.
Yeah, man. Because the thing was, it was a highlight video of just Chicago stuff, and it's great. Kukoc is so underrated. Oh my God, I don't know if I told you guys the story or not. I probably did, but I'll mention it again. A flight from dang old Dallas Fort Worth to Paris. It was great because I know I've mentioned before that, honest to God, and this is pre-COVID, so it had nothing to do with that. But honest to goodness, man, in our section of the plane, man, there might have been 14 of us front to back. It was so awesome. We all had tons of room, and it was wonderful. But the dudes 2 rows behind me were a guy, professional basketball player, I never did. I never did ask him where he's from because I'm an idiot. He played in Israel. He plays for oh, I'm pretty sure it's Maccabi Tel Aviv. I'm pretty sure is the team he played for. He had the logo on. I should have paid better attention. But we got talking basketball because I mean the guy's 6'10" and he looks like a basketball player. And then if you recognize, like following soccer like I do, I recognize the logo because not every country, but a lot of countries in Europe, they really are sports clubs and they have a team for everything. So whenever you hear people talk about Pau Gasol playing for Barcelona and you see pictures of it and it's the same, wine and blue as the soccer team, it really is the same thing. Sorry. But it was great. One of the coolest memories I have, man, is just talking basketball with this professional basketball player on the until we went to sleep because it's a long flight. But it was awesome. It was so cool. That was our conversation. I was like, man, the thing about those Bulls teams is this because everybody knows Jordan, everybody knows the Bulls, and I'm like, the thing is, the two guys that were the most important guys on that team that don't get mentioned, not that they're the most important guys, but never get their love. Tony Kukoc, Ron Harper. If you know how important those guys were to those teams, brother, it's like you can have a real. If you know how important those guys are, you can have a very, very nice conversation with a professional basketball player from Europe while you're flying to Europe.
Yeah.
It's a personal experience. That was super cool. It was a lot of fun, man. But they were both like, "Oh my God, you're a Kukoc fan?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude. So I'm not from Chicago, but I lived in Atlanta, and Tony played for us for a while, and." In my experience, that's the magic trick is if you Leitner's the same way as far as Atlanta goes, man. If you lived in a town
Oh
where those
yes.
guys played, you know how good they were, and it's really a very nice thing.
Yeah, man. That's a
Hell
good,
yeah.
good one.
Yeah, man.
Man. Uh, Another thing I watched. Speaking of Hall of Famers, that got it late, but I guess it's just in the interim of having Dark Side of the Ring. But there was the Vice documentary on China that
Oh yeah.
I finally sat down and watched a few nights ago, and definitely it was just one of those kind of things that it just felt so odd to see because she's been gone for a while now,
Yeah.
at least 4 years ish, something like that, maybe longer than that. But the footage looks so good, and you're kind of like, this looks like it was shot yesterday. Like, how did they get this? And you kind of realize that the story gets told of how uh, that documentary was getting done, and it's it's just another situation of years after the fact of somebody uh, being gone. These 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 piece of shit people that were doing this documentary just trying to make money off. It's not even making get some of that shine. We're gonna get it one way or the other. We got all this footage. We're gonna put it out, and I think they just kind of thought that this is gonna make us look like some real good old guys. Like, no, it doesn't. Uh, that the harder thing to watch dealing with China was there was a talking about high spots earlier. There was I'm sure you speaking of stuff you can still get off their website. There was a I guess you could call it a documentary, kind of documentary slash shoot interview. Back in the day, it was called 101 Reasons Not to Be a Wrestler that she's featured prominently in, and it that was the start of the downward spiral there. Just the footage that you get from her, but yeah, man, a tough watch, and just not nearly as uh, uh, just kind of leaves it. Just it doesn't leave you with a good feeling whatsoever. You just feel like, man, this is just sad, and uh, quite. I know it's going to shock you, but one of uh, the best things about the the show is uh, Mick Foley sat down and talked with him, and there was just a genuine concern that he had uh, that because one of the reasons that they wanted to sit down and talk with him is because of this documentary that was going to come out. I mean, one of the things that's done is this manager is trying to get her name out there. We're gonna, get her with all this restitucity or whatever the Ultimate Warrior award word was, and she makes an appearance through this manager at a convention somewhere, and that Mick happens to be at, and he genuinely is excited to see her and comes over and says hello, and years later, he just wanted to sit down and just kind of, I guess, tie up loose ends like these bandits. Just felt like this just was not a good situation for her to be in, just because everybody wants of all the stuff that you could try to blame the WWE for or Vince for. I just don't think that they were the ones to blame for this situation, just because she got hella famous, hella quick, and then it's gone. And I understand how that would probably mess somebody up and just totally be hard to grasp. And considering some of the stuff that happened, I understand. Yeah, I think she did get kind of done wrong by some people there. But at the same time, the years that go by and the lingering and blaming that for a lot of the stuff. I mean, at some point in time, that's your fault. That's on you. But yeah, it's just one of those. It's just one of those. That, man, it's like, man, it's sad, but it just felt to me like there was some people that, oh man, that's just another story of WWE killing somebody. Like, nah, not this time, not this time.
Yeah, the thing with it is what it is. Yeah, whatever, man. People want to get particular about Hunter and Stephanie and that impact. Yeah, that's on them. But mainly just because, I mean, how many people, and it's weird too. This is one of those ridiculous, like, I don't know. One of my biggest frustrations in life is people that make their decisions based on, well, who does that make? Whose side am I on? Okay, I'm a WWE guy. Okay, fuck Matt Hardy. Edge was right. And it's like, wouldn't nobody say that to you at the time? But now that Matt is AEW and now that Edge is WWE, people think they're funny and cute, and who gives a shit anyway? Because neither one of them wound up with her anyhow. What difference does it make? But now the Chyna thing, the only real issue I have with WWE and Chyna is them selling fucking action figures ever. It's like, seriously? You really want to do that?
Okay. Now that she's gone, it's fine.
Yeah, now it's well. That's my thing that drives me nuts about those anyway. Is you wouldn't touch Randy Savage action figures till after he was dead. Now there's one in every other series, and they want to do the same thing with Chyna too, but they don't sell, so who gives a shit? But nah, whatever. If we want to do yet another expose on, well, the thing is, another expose on WWE guys that wound up dying, don't worry, they'll fund another one about world class, because boy, you hear about world class all the time, and that's why. Because, oh, well, look how many people died in world class. Look, man, you put them out of business too. You're the only one left. Who cares? I don't see why anybody cares. I never understood Chyna anyway. I understood, excuse me. I do understand Foley showing up in the documentary because I think it was the second book that has a lot of, they were tight. They were really, really good friends, man. So that totally makes sense. And I think it's the second one. There's a picture of Chyna with, I think it's Noel. It might be Dewey. It's one of the kids. And it's the best picture of Chyna ever taken because she's so happy. And this is so tight with this kid. It's nice. I like that. So that's good to get Mick back in there talking. And you hate it because that's legitimately his friend. And so he's got to tell stories, and not like bad stories like she was doing anything bad, but just about a time when he was really worried about her. And that sucks. But nah, people want to bring that shit up so they can flog Vince. If people don't realize by now, it's the same thing with we talked about it with like it's a stupid parallel, But you and I talked about it one time not that long ago about Tom Cruise. It's like, if you ain't realized that Tom Cruise is fucking bulletproof by now, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
People that like WWE are clearly going to like WWE forever because they all know Vince is a fucking. Ain't nobody defending Vince McMahon anymore. Everybody knows what that guy is. So stop. I mean, if you really,
Whatever.
I made this Chyna documentary and I'm gonna turn the tables on Vince McMahon. The fuck you will. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Stop that shit.
Yeah.
If you want to make the documentary because you actually want to talk about Chyna, that's cool. But if all
Yeah.
you're trying to do is take a shot at Vince, it's something else. You and I talked about it with Cornette establishing himself as Mr. Anti-AEW. That's smart, man, because you've cornered the market on that. Well, now you got people trying to encroach and rip you off, but he's still the foremost guy. Who is the foremost anti-WWE guy? Shit, take a number, man. I mean,
Yeah.
dude, it's like you're not going to get there. So I agree. A different angle would have been better. It's like, wow, that Joni Lawler story, man, that's worth telling. You probably could have made a good documentary there, but wanted it to be, and then Vince McMahon punched her in the face. It's like, everybody already knows this stuff. You're not going to get there, man. It's sorry.
Yeah. That's it's just one of those. I think it's worth a watch, but it's not one that's like, oh man, I can't wait to see that one again.
You gotta tape that sucker. Yeah, by God, DVR it and keep it forever.
Forever. Yeah, man, it's one of those I could say I saw it and never need to see it again.
I'm good, man.
I honest to God, it's one of those kind of situations where they're sitting down and they're talking with the guys that were following her for literally the last days of her life, and I can't decide what they thought they were gonna get out of it, what they thought they were gonna have. And they haven't decided yet either. I don't gather that the director of the show is like still strung out on God knows what. It seems like when they sat and talked to him, and her motivational manager that was trying to basically sleep with her. You know, I don't know. I don't know what he thought he was going to get. It's just one of those kind of situations where like, what were y'all doing? Where were y'all going to put this out? I thought DDP was going to show up and show us some yoga moves, and you're going to be the next series that going on. Who knows? But it's it makes you long for like, why can't we get the rest of the I know you got the season of Dark Side of the Ring done. You gotta wait till September to watch the rest of it. So it sounds like I've been down on those guys this whole season, but I enjoy the show. And now I gotta wait.
We're getting just deeper and deeper in sad crap. It's not you're dissing the show. It's just they're not, like you said, they're not. The only thing about this season, like you said, there's not a whole lot of rewatch, and it's not that it's not good. It's that I'm not gonna handle this again.
Yeah, I saw him. Y'all can move on to something
It was
else.
great.
We get it. It was grim.
It was great.
Yeah, we know. Please. And then there's a clip that was running through the promos of this season and it's Cornette that says like, when y'all gonna do the happy side of the ring?
Dude, he's not wrong, man. It's like, okay, we are like I said, man, when they got to I just can't believe that they've got a second half of the season. It's like, as far as like just bottom of the barrel depression, depression might not be the right word for it, man, but if how you get below Grizzly Smith, it's just, I don't think you can get worse than that episode, man. But we can do the fun cocaine stuff, and I don't know. I found a documentary on YouTube called I think it's Gentleman's Choice, and it's just Chris Adams, and man, that's some depressing crap too, man. It really is, dude. Like, oh God.
I can't watch Gino.
How long are you going to make depressing ass documentaries about World Class Championship Wrestling? Forever.
Forever. I know my dad loved P.
So, Chris. Hey, Kev. Hey, Chris. Dave. Hey, Dave. How you doing? Well, I'm still dead, Kev. Okay, bye, Dave.
All right.
I should never bring up the Von Erichs because it's the worst joke thread of all time. But hey, man.
Curie.
Yeah, hey, Kerry, Kev. Jackie, my brother Jackie.
Mhm.
Lance. No, wait, fuck Lance. I didn't mean that.
we lie. We lied to those people. You want the Von Erich? You're not either.
My favorite thing about that is Gary Hart, and I believe him. I believe him because everybody in wrestling loves the revisionist. Oh, I saw Stone Cold coming. Oh, Stone Cold was gonna be a star. Oh yeah, I knew it. I knew it from the second I saw him.
Mhm.
Everybody does that, but Gary Hart's comment about Lance Von Erich is literally. It's like, I told Fritz, it's like you're fucking up. You're fucking up. And the whole point he was making was that it's Texas. This guy was an all-star, all-American. I think he was an all-American athlete. So everyone knows who this guy is. You cannot bring him in and pretend he is your long-lost cousin. You can't do it. And that's exactly what got him in trouble. And it's like, man, of course Gary knows. Of course he's like, guys, it's a stupid idea anyway. But to get a local kid that everybody already knows, like, oh, idiots. And then he tells that story. He's like, they would talk to fans that were like, man, the Von Erichs are liars, man. We're not pulling for them anymore. It's like, man, so strange. People always talk about, man, you think he'll ever be that hot again? And it's like, no. And it doesn't have to be. That's the thing that drives me nuts is people talk, oh, the good old days. It's like there are more people cashing paychecks today because they're pro wrestlers than in many a decade. Many a decade. Well, then the 80s, we was making $37,000 a week with the Midnight Express. That's great. How many other people were doing that? That's the whole point. Is it's more people now. It just is, man. That's how it works. I don't know why people can't understand that, but when you have a lot of people making their living being wrestlers, that's cool. That's cool. Good for them, man.
I think it's Bill Apter that has a really fun story where he there was something in the magazine that he didn't even write that was unfavorable about the Von Erichs, and it's Gary Hart that gets to make the call deal like, well, Bill, my man, you're out of the family. Fritz wants to kill you.
I just figured
Oh
it was
no.
I figured it was a courtesy call to tell Bill Apter that Fritz Von Erich was going to murder him. It seemed like the good businessman thing to do. I want to be decent. I want to let him know he's going to die.
Yeah.
Gary Hart's so cool.
Give you a heads up. Fritz wants to kill you.
Fritz is going to murder you. You had a good run. You published a lot of magazines. You did real good,
Bye-bye.
Bill. Bye-bye.
Well, man, that's all I know that's going on right now.
Yeah, the only other thing going on is obviously I am 1,000% obsessed with the Eastern Conference Final.
Oh,
I'm looking very forward to Game 3 because got to watch the taste of Game 2 out. But Game 2, it's you and I talked about it before with many other sports, but it really is true regardless of what sport you watch, except baseball, because there's such a thing as a turnover in baseball.
Yeah.
Game
kind of
2
felt that coming. Felt it coming a little bit.
Game 2, as far as the Bucks winning, yeah, I definitely had the Bucks winning Game 2. I've got the Hawks winning the series in 6, and there's a reason for that. You go and you win Game 1, you have home court advantage. So just don't lose at home, and you're set.
Yeah.
But that puts you losing Game 2, and it puts you losing Game 5, and I'm pretty sure we will. But that's all right. What happened was getting beat was because Milwaukee played great. Getting killed is that we played awful, and that's the combination. You know what I'm saying? I think Milwaukee would have won anyway because they had a real good night. But man, you turn the ball over that many times and have a cold shooting night too. That's how you get beat by 40. But it's all good, man. It's very interesting having my team in there because it seems to me that it should make me more crazy, but it doesn't. I actually enjoy it more. The hypocrisy of people just waving in the wind on the subject of Giannis Antetokounmpo is very funny to me, man, because Giannis is LeBron is the most hated guy in the NBA. Giannis is real close because with LeBron's the guy that the rest of the world, he is basketball. But as far as the rest of the world that doesn't watch basketball, that's when they'll watch the European guys, and it's the reason that Luka Doncic and Giannis are hated, just hated. So having to crush Giannis for everything he does, and then all of a sudden, oh man, what a game! Oh wow! And it's all like it's very strange. It seems to me I would have bet that with my guys being involved, it would have made me nuts. But actually, it turns out when your guys are involved, it's just funny, and I'm like, that's cool, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
man.
yes, I'm hoping with Game 3 we can bounce back. It is very nice to see Cam Reddish back on the floor. I had no idea where he was as far as rehab and getting back to the lineup, and man, he's like traveling with the team, playing in the guest. So that's really
Mm,
nice. I wish it was DeAndre, but I'm glad to see Reddish. That's very cool. And hey man, we'll bounce back. I don't think we'll
yeah,
play. I don't think we'll play that poorly again. I hope not, anyway. But it's like just
yeah,
at least put up a better fight because if you're actually hitting your shots and not turning the freaking ball over, my God, turnovers killed us, man. But
yeah.
it's good stuff. I'm loving that series, man. And also, because I complain about it all the time, I want to say positive things because positive things deserve to be pointed out there too. I cannot tell you how thrilled I am that TNT has the conference for the contract for the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, hell
Mm,
yeah, man! Because the
yeah.
ESPN shit is unwatchable. It is unwatchable because they do that bullshit Disney file. Let's take a look at the review. We're gonna have a review. Hey, it's a challenge. It's so fake. Every game is so fake. You're not gonna see no 40-point blowaways in the Western Conference Final, and it ain't because they're perfectly matched up. It's because Vegas tells Disney what to do, or Disney tells Vegas what to do, depending on which way it goes. You can't you can't believe anything. If it's on ESPN, I don't believe it because it's too often. It's not every now and again. It's not, well, when my teams are involved, it is every single game I have ever watched on there, man. It comes down to some controversial call at the last minute, and we got to review this and we got to look at that. And I'm like, thank God we're on TNT
Mm,
because I love TNT. And if that means you got to get blitzed by 40 points because they're actually doing it right, that's okay. At least it's real. at least
yeah.
at least it's real, man.
On the up and up ish.
Oh God, it's just not boring. And that's my whole
Mm,
thing is like I don't think the results are legit ever. But for fuck's sake, let the guys go out there and play. Do
mm,
not let. It's the difference between AEW and WWE. When AEW guys go out and cut a promo you like, they wrote that themselves, and some of their promos are absolute crap, and some of them are real good. And at least that shit was real. It's the same thing. At least the fake games on TNT, you are asking basketball players to play a game of basketball and make it look good. And they don't do
yeah.
that shit at ESP. They do not. They want their script writers. They want this guy right here to decide everything all the time. And it's like, this is boring as shit. You might as well hire Kevin Dunn to come in here and
Mm,
do this for every other
mm,
play because it's
yeah.
just so predictable and so cruddy. Oh, God. I'm so happy we're on T. And then also the other positive thing about being on TNT, you get inside the NBA. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's just the best thing in the whole wide world because that show rules, man.
Yeah. It's tons of fun to watch those guys.
Oh God, I completely agree. I love it. It's one of my favorites, man.
Mm-hmm. Heck yeah,
But I think
man.
that was it. That was about the only other thing I had going on. That and like I said, I'm obsessed with PlayStation 2 soccer rosters, but I'll talk about that next show. I've got work to do, and then once I've accomplished something, I'll let y'all know.
Heck yeah, man.
Hell
That's
yeah,
what's up.
that is what's up. Thank you for the call, man. Thanks for watching, y'all.
Yeah, cool, man. I'll see y'all.
Yeah, brother.
Ah.